Your team just added its 67th AI tool, and also your 67th security blind spot. The good news? The Vanta agent works like a GRC engineer in the background, finding every app your team uses, scoring the risk, and drafting fixes for you. Vanta is the platform used by over 16,000 fast-moving companies like Ramp, Cursor, and Harvey, who are shaping the future with AI and staying ahead of AI risk. Get started at Vanta.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along. Which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ziprecruiter.com/zip. That's ziprecruiter.com/zip. ziprecruiter.com/zip.
Hi, welcome to Crime Clueless. We're your hosts. I'm Jenna.
And I'm Laura.
Before we jump in, if you like what you're hearing, we would love if you would rate Crime Clueless on Apple or Spotify. You can leave a review on Audible, and we would love you to hit subscribe on YouTube. It helps more listeners find the show, and we love you for it. So it's Friday afternoon. It's 10 days before Christmas, 1995. You're a kid somewhere between 8 and 15 years old, and you just got off the school bus in rural Ohio. You walk up to your house, the front door is unlocked, which is already a little bit weird. But you go inside, and the first thing you notice is the coffee pot. It's still on, and it's been on for so long that it's nearly boiled dry. And it gets worse the more you look around. You see your dad's wristwatch, the one he wears every single day. He never takes it off, sitting on a shelf above the stove. Your mom's favorite pack of cigarettes and her lighter are right there on the kitchen counter. Her purse is still in the house. She never leaves without those things. And aside from that, Mom is always home when you get off the bus. Always. On the rare occasion she's not, she leaves a note. Every time. And there's no note. So your stomach maybe starts to drop a little bit. Feels off, feels weird. When you go upstairs, your dad's gun cabinet, the one that is always locked, is standing wide open.
Oh, no. It's not sounding good.
As you walk into your parents' bedroom, there's a small safe in there. It's open. There are birth certificates, important papers, documents. They're scattered across the dresser, on the floor, all over the room. You notice clothes laid out on the bed. And both of your parents are just gone. The truck is gone. No note, no explanation. There's nothing.
And how many kids are there in this house right now?
There are 5. They have 5 kids. So they have an 8-year-old, and then a 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 14-year-old, and 15-year-old. And they're all standing in this house trying to figure out what happened. And here's the thing that makes the timing so much worse. The kids are supposed to be going to a funeral home that night. Their aunt, their dad's twin sister, had died of cancer 2 days earlier. Calling hours are at 5:30 that evening. Their parents are supposed to take them. And in fact, the clothes upstairs laid out on the bed, those are the clothes that their parents were going to wear that night to the funeral home. So maybe they just ran on a quick errand, right? The case I have for you today is one of the most baffling in Ohio. But here's the thing, there is a trail. There's a bank teller who saw them that morning. There's a $1,000 check. There's a ransom call. There are so many twists and turns in this one. And today we're going to walk through all of it because this case, it has layers.
Sounds very interesting. I already have a lot of questions.
That's good, because I have a lot to tell you. On December 15th, 1995, it didn't start as anything other than a completely ordinary Friday morning. It was the second to last week of school before Christmas break. in the Markley house on Greenville Road in Bristol Township, that Friday morning would have looked like every other Friday morning. Because when you have 5 kids, mornings have a rhythm. They have to. The oldest is Ruth. She was 15 at the time. Then we've got 3 sisters, all in their early teens. And their youngest, whose name is Johnny, he was 8 years old and in 3rd grade. 5 kids across 7 years. Mornings in that house were not quiet.
No, I can only imagine. Just with my 3, it's already hard getting them all ready and out to school. I can't, 5 sounds like a lot.
Right? Now, we are in Ohio. It's cold. It's December. Everyone's up early. Lunches to make, backpacks to find, coats that are never where you left them. 10 shoes we've got to track down. John and Shelly have been doing this routine for years, and it ran the way it always ran. At some point that morning, one of the kids slipped into John and Shelly's bedroom before leaving, just to say goodbye to their dad. John was having a hard time with the loss of his twin sister, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But it had only been 2 days. He was grieving. But he was there that morning. He said goodbye. And Shelly was running the show the way she always did. And one thing worth knowing about Shelly is that she had this policy. She was not a fan of calls from school during the day unless it was a real emergency. Someone wants to leave early, go to the nurse, say they're sick. She was like,
yeah. No.
Yeah. On this particular morning, no. She made a point of telling a few of her kids specifically who did have that habit of wanting to come home early. Today was absolutely not the day for that. The family had the funeral that night. There's a lot going on. She was specific. Everyone needed to stay where they were until school was over. It's just a very mom thing to say. And it was normal. There were days where she had a lot going on that she'd said that before.
And that's really such a specific detail. That's just a regular Tuesday morning parenting moment. No one even think about faking sick today. If you're barfing, give me a call. But
otherwise,
you're fine. I got
school,
too many
please.
things to do.
Exactly.
Yes. Especially if they had been doing it. It is winter. Kids are sick.
Mm-hmm.
If you just have a little stuffy nose, you're going to be okay.
Yep. We can deal with that tomorrow. But today you're staying at school.
Today I have work to do. I have to get ready for the funeral. Mm-hmm. Please don't fake sick today.
Right. After that conversation, one by one, the kids headed out to their buses. The older ones going first. High school, junior high start earlier. The last was Johnny. He had a bowl of cereal at the kitchen table while his mom got him ready. Shelly walked him to the bus stop. The bus came. She waved goodbye, and Johnny headed off to school. It was 8:30 in the morning. The house was quiet for the first time that day. John and Shelly had the whole morning ahead of them, and they did have a lot to do before 5:30 that evening. They had things to prepare for. They had people coming in from out of town. John's suit, they think, was already taken care of because the clothes that they were both considering wearing were laid out on the bed, and one of John's suits still had tags on it. So everything was normal that morning, completely, entirely normal. And then in the space of 2 hours, everything wasn't.
Wild just how normal everything seemed.
Yeah, I hate that.
And then it changes. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about who these people actually were. I want you to meet the Markleys. Let's start with John. He's John J. Markley Jr. He was born July 8th, 1959, right there in Trumbull County, Ohio. In 1995, he was 36 years old. He worked as an independent truck driver, and by all accounts, he was pretty meticulous and a steady guy. He had a 1978 Corvette that he kept in the garage under protective wraps, and he never left that car uncovered. He wore his watch every day. He kept the gun cabinet locked, always, never, ever open. He was the kind of person who had a system for things and stuck to it. And an important detail, John had no criminal record and also no life insurance policy at the time. So right off the bat, that eliminates some of the usual motives that people jump to. There's no insurance payout waiting for anyone. There's no shady background.
And what about Shelly? Did she have any kind of shady background?
No, even less than John, who doesn't have any. Shelly was born Shelly Renee Applequist on November 16th, 1963. She and John got married on November 30th, 1979. She was only 16 and he was 20.
Wow, she was really young.
She was really young. But by 1995, they've been married for 16 years. And her family, who maybe weren't entirely thrilled when they got married that young, has come around. And Shelly and John have 5 kids together. Shelly was a stay-at-home mom, and everything about how people describe her really centers on those kids. She was dedicated. She was protective. Shelly was the kind of mom who was always there when her kids got off the bus. And like we mentioned, if she wasn't, she left a note every single time. So when those kids came home to an empty house with no note, no mom, no explanation, they were worried that something was going on because that wasn't their mother.
And what did their financial situation look like? Were they struggling at all with only John working, or were they okay?
They were okay. So they were a working family. And, like we said, Shelly's staying home while John's working. They weren't wealthy by any stretch, but they did have their house paid off completely. And it's noted that their freezer was already stocked for the winter. They were stable and they were really working hard to make sure they were on top of their finances.
Okay.
So by December of 1995, the Markley family is heading into the holidays, and it should be a normal Christmas season. 5 kids, rural Ohio, you can picture it. But I want to back up a little further than December, because by the time we get to Bonnie's death, who was John's twin, this family has already been through a lot in very recent years. On July 4th, 1993, the Markley home burned down. Then the following year, on July 4th, 1994, exactly 1 year later, John's father died. And just a few weeks after that, in August 1994, the couple's nephew completed suicide. We had 3 devastating events in such a short amount of time before Bonnie ever got sick.
Oh, that's really wild. I can't believe that it was the same date 2 years in a row to have tragedies happen.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't even imagine. The 4th of July must have really been a hard time for them after that.
Right. I thought that too. It's a lot to carry. And then Bonnie gets her diagnosis. She fought hard. The summer before she died, John sold the family's above-ground swimming pool to pay for 6 weeks of treatments at a clinic in Tijuana, Mexico. When she came home from Mexico, she was told that her condition was terminal. And when she got that news, John took time off from trucking to be with her.
Wow. So she wasn't even sick for that long.
It was fast.
It's really hard. Yeah, that's really hard. Not that it's ever easy, but
yeah,
I feel like sometimes when it's so fast, you don't have kind of that time to mentally prepare.
Agreed. And then on December 13th, 2 days before John and Shelly vanish, is when Bonnie passed. Her full name was Bonnie Donaldson, and she had had breast cancer. John is not okay. His sister, Linda, told the Daily Advocate 6 days after the disappearance. She said, quote, "He was very bitter about his sister's death. He blamed everybody. He blamed the doctors. He blamed God. I was hoping he just couldn't cope and had to get away for a while. But now that it's been this long, they aren't ruling out foul play." The night Bonnie died, John's face was puffy and red from crying. And he kept saying the same thing over and over. "Part of me is gone. Part of me is gone."
So hard with that being his twin. I'm sure that they just had such that connection. It seems like they were really connected. That'd be really hard.
And
really
she
hard
was
for
young.
any sibling. But
Yeah, she was only 36.
Yeah.
So this family, when we get to December 15th, are in full grief mode on top of everything else they've been through the last 2 years. They're planning the funeral. The calling hours or visitation is set for Friday night at 5:30 p.m. And then the funeral's the next day, the 16th. The kids know they're going. Everyone is locked in on getting through this week.
It seems really fast. She had passed on December 13th and they were already having the funeral that weekend.
Yeah. And I wonder if they'd kind of planned that if she was on like
hospice or something.
Yeah, palliative care, maybe.
Yeah. It's just on top of everything, just the worst possible moment for something else to happen and something to happen to John and Shelly.
Right. That's what I keep coming back to. Whether it was calculated or coincidental, the timing is devastating. This is a family right now that's distracted, grieving, emotionally drained. John's processing the loss. Shelly's holding everything together. And in that exact window of vulnerability, something happens to John and Shelly. Now, like we said, by maybe 8:45, it's just John and Shelly in the house. And sometime between then and 10:30, everything changes. At some point that morning, they leave the house. And we don't know exactly when, and we don't know exactly why. We don't know if they left willingly, but we do know where they ended up. At 10:36 a.m., a bank teller saw them. The couple pulls into the drive-thru at a Bank One branch in Bloomfield, Ohio. Bloomfield is about 5 miles from their home in Bristol Township. It's not the closest bank from them, but they do know a lot of the people who work there. They get a specific teller that helps them that recognizes John and Shelly. John's driving his red and silver 1990 Chevy pickup. Shelly is sitting in the middle of the bench seat. She's writing a check on the dashboard. It's a check made out to cash for $1,000. She signs it. They hand it over. The teller processes it. Done.
Okay. And is this like a normal withdrawal for them? It seems like kind of a lot when it's, one working parent family right before Christmas.
Especially over 30 years ago. I mean, that's a lot now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot. $1,000 is a lot now too, but it was even more than that.
1995, how long? 31 years ago?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. That is exactly right. It was a lot of money, and it was actually more than half of what they had in their account. After they take that $1,000 out, they're left with $865. And that check, that's the last financial transaction that ever occurs on the Markley bank account. Nothing after, no withdrawals, no charges, no activity, just that one check at 10:36 a.m. And the checkbook was never recovered. Not in the house, not in the truck, not anywhere. It's just gone.
So you said we've got the $1,000 check. They just made it out to cash. And Shelly was sitting in the middle seat. Is that normal for them?
No. And this is the detail that changes everything. The bank teller told investigators that when she looked into the cab of the truck at the drive-thru window, she saw 3 people. So John was driving, Shelly was in the middle, and sitting in the passenger seat right next to Shelly was a man.
Oh. Did she recognize this other man?
No, she didn't recognize him, and she honestly couldn't see him that well. The teller described him as slender with dark hair, and that's about all she could give investigators. She couldn't remember anything else about his appearance, and she couldn't identify him.
Has he ever been identified?
Nope. 30 years later, this man, we still don't know who he is. Nobody knows how he got in the truck. Nobody knows what his relationship was to John and Shelly. It's kind of a complete ghost. And think about that for a minute. Shelly's in the middle on a bench seat between her husband and this unknown man. She's writing this check, and it's the last time that anybody sees John and Shelly.
Was there any kind of surveillance video at this bank in 95?
There was, but when investigators reviewed it, they couldn't get anything off of it to identify him. It was just the wrong angles, too grainy, not enough to be able to identify him.
That's so frustrating. It's like so many other cases too that we've had video surveillance and we still can't identify people.
Mm-hmm.
It's so frustrating.
It is.
The seating arrangement's kind of weird too. If you're giving someone a ride or meeting up with like a friend, does your wife usually sit in the middle? I mean, I don't know. I guess I would sit by the window and have the other person sit in the middle. or you put them in the back or something. Just like sitting on the bench seat with the three of you is kind of weird.
Yeah.
I don't know, like she's sandwiched between them or something. Was there a back seat in the truck though, or was it just the bench seat?
No, there wasn't.
Maybe like she's sitting in the middle so she can't get out.
That's actually where a lot of people land on this. Now, to be fair, it's possible there's an innocent explanation. Like we said, if that's the only seat, okay, maybe Shelly doesn't want to sit on the end with this guy, depending on how well she knows him. Right, exactly. It's also possible that Shelly was the one handling the check, so it made sense for her to be closer, to be able to write it on the dashboard. But when you combine the seating arrangement with everything else, the money, the scene at the house, everything that happens after, it feels really uncomfortable. It feels like something is wrong in that truck and the bank teller is looking right at it and doesn't know it.
Did the bank teller think that they were acting normal, or did they seem off or scared or anything?
That's the frustrating part. There's nothing in the reporting that suggests the teller noticed anything alarming about that behavior in the moment. I mean, it was a drive-thru transaction. It was quick. It's usually hard to hear them. I've worked that spot before. It's hard to see. It's hard to hear always. Only in hindsight, once detectives came asking questions, did the teller really think about that interaction? And, by then the details were fading, but she did tell investigators that usually John was friendly and would chat for a moment. But on that day, he barely said anything.
So is that teller the last person to ever see them then? And she's the only one who saw
Yep,
the third person in the truck?
Yeah, that's it. One witness, this brief interaction in a drive-thru window, doing a transaction that is not normal for them. And that's the end of the trail for John and Shelly Markley. After 10:36 a.m. on December 15th, 1995, they are never seen again.
Did you say their truck was back at the house, or what? Did they find their truck somewhere later?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll get to that. And they found it pretty quick, too. But first, let's go back to the house. So in the beginning, we walked through what the kids found when they get home. But now that you know about the bank, you know about the disappearance, about the third man, the $1,000, let's go through it because the scene reads different when you have that context.
Yeah, because now we're not just looking at a house that has some weird details, kind of looking for something that may have happened there.
Exactly. So the kids come home Friday afternoon. The oldest, Ruth, gets home first. She gets home around 3. Like we said, the doors are unlocked and she finds the coffee pot still on, which means it's been running since early that morning. She did find 2 coffee cups on the table, and to be helpful, she cleaned them. We don't know if there was evidence that was lost from that or not, but great move trying to help out your parents.
Yeah.
Bummer in hindsight that you'd have no way to know. She spots John's wristwatch. It's on a shelf above the stove, and Shelly's cigarettes and lighter are on the counter. Her purse is there. So to investigators, eventually, they will say that whatever happened, it happened fast. She didn't grab her purse. She didn't grab her cigarettes. And Shelly was a pack-a-day smoker. Family said she never left the house without her cigarettes, even for a really quick errand. And you definitely don't leave your purse, especially since they were headed to the bank, right?
Yeah.
That's your wallet, your ID, everything. It feels like the only way you leave without those things is if you either don't think you're leaving or you don't have a choice.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. It's odd that, if someone did make her leave, they didn't make her bring more. What if they had asked for ID, like to cash her check,
Yeah.
Especially if it's a big check that's not normal for them. They could have asked for more.
Yep.
So there's no way you would leave your purse home when you're going in to do a big transaction, just in case.
Right.
John's watch, is that a normal place that he would leave it if he wasn't wearing it, like above the stove? That seems like an odd place to have that.
It does. It sounds like he would take it off when he was doing dishes or cleaning up in the kitchen and set it up there so that nothing got on it. It was safe.
I see.
But then he'd always put it right back on. which again lends to this feels like it happened fast. In one article I read, family said that they had seen John walk out in his pajamas with his watch on. He always had it on. So the fact that it's sitting there, it feels like he had to be in the middle of something, took it off, and then was interrupted. He wouldn't go to the bank without it if he wasn't forced to.
Yeah, that just seems odd.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if it's always his routine. Like if he took it off to put it right back on, you would think even if someone had come to the door and he stopped what he was doing, he might grab it and put it on.
True. I could see Shelly answering the door while he's finishing up something and her yelling for him to come. And maybe, he might have thought it was like a door-to-door salesperson, or if they weren't expecting company, maybe just go answer and say goodbye. Now, let's go upstairs. The gun cabinet in the master bedroom was open, which is significant. It was always locked. I mean, they had kids. They had 5 kids. John was very meticulous. The kids actually told investigators they didn't even know how many guns their parents owned, which is a bummer in hindsight because there's no way to confirm whether anything was taken. But the fact that it was open at all breaks John's pattern again. Investigators were never 100% sure what was missing because Ohio didn't require registration of guns. And as far as I know, they still don't.
So there were guns in the safe then. They just don't know if there was more that was taken. Is that right?
Right.
Okay. Was it forced open or was there a key?
That detail isn't specified in any of the reporting I've been able to find, which is frustrating because it matters. If it was forced open, that suggests an intruder. But if it was opened with a key, that suggests either John opened it himself, maybe to arm himself, or someone knew where the key was.
Maybe someone made him open it?
Yeah, possible. And then there's that safe in the master bedroom. Some sources say the master bathroom, but it was open. Birth certificates, important papers, documents. I mean, like a marriage certificate. They were pulled out and scattered across the dresser and the floor. It looked like someone had been going through it to find something specific in a hurry.
Do you think they could have been trying to get in there to look for money? If they kept a stash of money in there, and since they didn't find anything, maybe that's why they made them go to the bank?
Possibly. I did see in some reporting that they thought John and Shelly kept money in the gun safe, which had the lock. I have a small safe that you can push the button and it opens. It doesn't have, it's mostly just to keep things if there's a fire.
Right.
A fireproof box. It's possible, that they're going through the safe thinking they kept the money there. There's no money. They go to the gun cabinet and there either isn't money or it's not enough.
Was anything taken that they could find from the safe? Like any documents that were taken?
None that I could find. But again, I'm not sure they knew exactly what was in there to begin with. So they didn't really know what they were looking for. There were still birth certificates and things like that out. But, you don't know what's in my safe.
No, I don't.
I mean, Mila wouldn't. If something happened and it was open and they asked her, she would have no idea.
But I mean, if they had passports, and I don't know if they did or not, but maybe their documents were taken, but the kids' stuff was still there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Things like that.
It's definitely possible. I don't know if they had them. I didn't read in any reporting that passports were missing. And, Shelly's ID is still in her purse. So I'm not sure what they were going for.
I wonder if they were looking for valuables or money.
Yeah.
Because that's what I would think. If you saw a safe in someone's room, you would think that things are hidden there, valuable things.
Totally. But how do you know where it is? If John and Shelly are both home.
Your team just added its 67th AI tool and also your 67th security blind spot. The good news? The Vanta agent works like a GRC engineer in the background, finding every app your team uses, scoring the risk, and drafting fixes for you. Vanta is the platform used by over 16,000 fast-moving companies like Ramp, Cursor, and Harvey, who are shaping the future with AI and staying ahead of AI risk. Get started at Vanta.com.
Are you
Maybe they if someone came in, tied them up and told them that they needed money or valuables or something, and maybe they took one of them up there and they showed them and they didn't find anything.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
they made them take them to the bank.
Like the person that came in was like, I know you have a safe, everyone has a safe type thing. And so they're like, look, no, we really don't have anything.
Yeah.
Well,
But it's
what's
weird that
in
they wouldn't make them take out more
it is.
money.
The
Like,
$1,000 is
pull out
going to
everything
come
you
back.
have.
We're going to come back
Okay.
around to the 1,000 and that specific amount. That's a good catch. I like that.
Okay.
Yeah. With the clothes that are laid out on the bed, I don't believe that they were there before the kids went to school. So it does suggest there was a little bit of time and planning. It also later on makes them think maybe he was missing a part of his suit or maybe a piece of his new suit didn't fit right. And they just went to replace that real fast in a rush. The other stuff is still weird and doesn't make sense. But when you're trying to explain where they are, that plays a piece. But it also looks like they were planning to be home and get dressed and ready and go to the funeral that night.
Yeah. And it kind of feels like maybe Shelly was upstairs getting some things laid out, getting things ready to make sure they had everything while John was maybe cleaning up from getting the kids off to school downstairs.
Mm-hmm. Very possible. Maybe he answered if somebody came.
Yeah. And then she was upstairs and they went up, found her demanding valuables or cash or something, and could see, if she's in the room, maybe the safe wasn't hidden. If it's out and they could just see it.
Right.
I don't know.
And maybe they'd pulled it out to look for something. And you're right. Maybe it was already out.
Yeah. Maybe Shelly was upstairs laying out outfits, trying to figure out what they were going to wear. So that's one less thing that they have to do when all the kids are trying to get ready.
Totally.
If they already know what they're going to wear, making sure if they do need to go to the store, if something doesn't fit, they know it's not the last minute thing.
Right. Once all the kids got home and when Ruth got home, she's going, okay, I am old enough to be home on my own, even though my mom always leaves a note. I'm sure they'll be home before the other ones get home. But by 3:30, all the kids are now home. And there's these weird things, no mom and dad. So they call their Aunt Judy, who lives nearby. She knew how hard the loss of Bonnie had been for John. So she suggests that the kids come over to her house and hang out. She says maybe John and Shelly just went for a drive. Maybe they needed to get something else for the viewing that night. She says, I'm sure they're going to be home any minute, but come over here while we wait. 5:30 comes. There's no sign of John and Shelly. So Judy and her husband take the kids with them to go to the viewing, probably thinking John and Shelly will show up at 5:30 and meet them there. They actually had to take 2 cars. They didn't even have one big enough to fit 5 kids with the 2 adults. The entire viewing goes by, no sign of John and Shelly. In moments like this, you are trying to think of any possible reasonable explanation. Maybe it was too much for John. Maybe he couldn't do it. The family decides to go back to the Markley home after the viewing is over, probably thinking John and Shelly would be there waiting, but they aren't there. Midnight comes. Family's getting panicked. They know what great parents John and Shelly are. They couldn't just leave their kids. Not overnight, not with no explanation, no note. So a little bit after midnight, they call the police to report John and Shelly missing. Police come and learn as much about John and Shelly as possible, but everything is so normal. No one can point to anything specific that could be the reason for John and Shelly to go missing. Police are asking questions about John's job, his business interactions, his demeanor, and they're told, we don't know of any conflicts. We don't know of any work-related things. They don't know of anything like that for Shelly. Police look around the house. They see the same things we talked about. And at this point, so many people have been in the house. There really isn't physical evidence that they can even look for. And with the 2 coffee mugs, they've just been trying to be helpful and clean up. And who knows, it might have been nothing on there. But those things are all cleaned, put away. They tell police that John's 1990 red Chevy Silverado is missing. Officers put out an APB on that. And then one other detail stood out to the family. They took police out to the garage and showed them that John's prized 1978 Corvette is sitting there uncovered. The protective tarps that he always keeps on it are gone. And John did not leave that car uncovered. He's quoted as covering it all the time because of possible belt buckles walking by or a bike. He was really protective. And pulling off the covers for it to just sit there all day was not something he did. Either he pulled those tarps off himself for a reason or someone else did.
Do we know where the tarps were? Were they in the garage just on the floor or were they gone?
They were gone. They were found in the bed of the pickup truck, which brings us to the truck. John's red and silver pickup truck, the same one they were driving that morning, is spotted the next morning. Some sources say Saturday afternoon or even Sunday morning, but newspaper articles from the time, which we'll link to, state Saturday morning. Either way, it's located quickly. Please find it. And probably only because of that APB. There's nothing wrong with it. It's locked and sitting in a parking lot of Stambaugh's Hardware, which is on Elm Road, about 10 miles from the Markley home, or about a 20-minute drive. The keys are missing, and nobody at the store could say how long the truck had been sitting there.
That's so interesting. So whoever left it there locked it and took the keys with them. That doesn't really feel like John and Shelly walking away from their truck.
No, it doesn't.
It feels like they locked it and took the keys with them thinking they would come back. Because that's what you do. I mean, if you're just abandoning a car, why would you worry about locking it?
Right. For sure. When investigators get into the truck, they find the Markley cell phone in the bed of the truck. They find a semi-trailer tire and the tarps from the Corvette in the bed of the truck. The truck itself was covered in mud. It looked like it had been driven off-road, which, again, was completely out of character. John kept that truck meticulous. The family said driving it off-road was not something they had ever known the Markleys to do.
Maybe it was taken like to a remote location or something. That doesn't feel good for John and Shelly.
It does not feel good. That is how I felt too. And honestly, that's what it looks like to investigators. And the tarps from the Corvette, I keep coming back to them. Why were they taken off the car in the garage? And then why were they in the truck bed? Were they going to be used for something? Because if you're thinking about what you use heavy tarps for in a situation like this.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like you're wrapping something. There wasn't any evidence found on them. Was there like blood or anything like that?
Not that investigators have ever put out. They were found in there, and the notes on the case say that they were unused, or it's possible investigators haven't said publicly what they found, if anything, on them. So either the plan changed for the reason that they were in the truck bed, or they served some other purpose, or maybe grabbed in a rush with everything else. I can't really think of a reason why for that, though. But think about those tarps being pulled off that Corvette and ending up in the back of a muddy truck that's been driven off-road. Stays with you. After the truck is found, law enforcement goes all in on the search. They process the truck for evidence, which, whatever they've found, has not been publicly released. They organized roughly 100 local volunteers who search hundreds of acres around the Markley property. They run an air search. They bring in divers to check the surrounding bodies of water. Specifically, they checked Nelson Ledge's quarry, Mosquito Lake, and Lake Milton.
And they don't find anything?
Nothing. No trace of John and Shelly. No clothing, no personal items, nothing. Wherever they are or wherever they were taken, it wasn't anywhere obvious. And listen, this is rural Ohio. There's a lot of land, a lot of woods, a lot of nothing out there. If someone wanted to make two people disappear, the geography cooperates here.
And so here the physical evidence just stops. There's like the truck is the end of the line.
Yeah, the truck is the end. And at this point, law enforcement is beginning to formally say out loud to suspect that John and Shelly were victims of foul play. Taking everything into consideration, the scene at the house, the bank withdrawal, the unknown man, finding the truck locked, keys gone, none of it adds up to two people who left on their own. But there's no crime scene. There's no blood. There's no body, no confession. It's just silence. And then 11 days later, the Markley's family phone rings. And the person on the other end says he's holding John and Shelly hostage and he wants money.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. We need to talk about Stephen Durst. Now, I want to shout out Mark Fosberg, who wrote a piece in The Plain Dealer called Home No More, the strange, sad saga of a couple who vanished more than a year ago. These details about this next part are detailed in there so well, and a lot of other sources don't detail them the same. They leave parts out. And I think the full scope of what happens next is really important. In that span between December 15th, 16th, 17th, after the funeral, after John and Shelly go missing, John's sister Linda and her husband Gene, who had come for the funeral from North Carolina, are staying in the Markley home. They decided to stay and help out with the search, but also help take care of 5 kids. The day after Christmas, the phone at the Markley house starts ringing. Now, before I tell you about that call, I need to tell you about Stephen Durst, because the way that he's described in most coverage of this case, they call him a former employee or an opportunist. The framing leaves out a part of the story that makes everything else make sense.
What do you mean?
About a year before John and Shelly disappeared, the Markley family took Stephen Durst in. He was down on his luck, out of money. He had 2 school-aged children of his own. So John and Shelly opened up their home to him. And remember, there's already 7 people in their home. It was an incredibly kind gesture. He moved in, his kids moved in with him, and John gave him work. He had Durst driving a second semi that John Markley owned.
Wow, that's a lot to let him come live in their house, especially with his 2 kids too.
Yeah, you've got 10 people there now.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. The part about him living in that house means that he knew every room. He knew the layout. He probably knew where the safe was, where the gun cabinet was. The Corvette, he probably knew what that was worth. I mean, he was part of the household.
Yeah, what happened to him? How long did he live there for?
I'm not sure exactly when he moved in. It was sometime in the beginning of 1995. It wasn't like a year. It wasn't a super long time, but it was months. And sometime in the summer of 1995, there's a dispute over money. And John fired Stephen. He evicted him and his 2 children. And he also withheld Durst's last paycheck.
Oh, so this wasn't just a former employee who was owed a debt. I mean, John basically took his home, his paycheck, his job, everything.
Yeah.
I mean,
and it might have been
not
completely
it could have been warranted. I mean,
totally. I don't know what the dispute was over. It only just says money and finances. So I don't know what happened there, but it was enough to where this relationship is over.
Maybe he was supposed to be helping pay for some things with his paychecks, and maybe he wasn't.
Very possible.
They were just mooching off of them.
Right. And all of this happens not that long before John and Shelly vanish, only 6 months. When we take that information and go back to the scene at the house, he is somebody who knew all of those things and exactly where to go and what to look for. And it is possible that John had kept more money that Stephen knew about in the gun safe, or maybe he thought it was in the safe, but maybe he knew that John had cash on him usually. It is interesting that he lived there and knew all of that. Also, that last paycheck, it was $1,000.
Oh, that's interesting. He knew that's what they owed him. That's a very, I don't know, that seems a little too coincidental.
Right? And not only that, he'd been telling people for months that the Markleys owed him $1,000. The exact amount Shelly wrote that check for at the bank drive-thru that morning, with an unidentified man in the passenger seat. Now, let's get to those calls.
What did Durst look like? Did he fit that description?
Good question. I looked at his booking photo from when he went to jail, and he could definitely fit that description. The
Dark hair,
reporting
slender.
says, like, oh, we don't know if he matches it. But when you look at it and you hear dark hair and slender, I mean, yeah. So it's December 26th, and everyone's in bed. It's 8 a.m. We just had Christmas, but not only Christmas. Parents are still missing, no answers, trying to figure out what to do next, right? The phone rings. Gene, Linda's husband, answers the phone. The voice on the other end is male. It's raspy, and he's asking for Ruth, the oldest Markley daughter, who is 15 at the time.
Oh, that's uncomfortable. Why is he asking for one of their kids? Unless, I don't know. I don't like that.
No, I don't either. And why he was asking for Ruth, we don't know for certain, but that's what makes that question so interesting. I looked through as much local newspaper coverage from those 11 days after the disappearance. The Daily Advocate, which had a pretty detailed piece on December 21st, only names Johnny by name. The other children are just described as 5 children, ages 8 to 15. Ruth's name did not appear in print, and as far as we can tell, it wasn't printed before these calls started. So the caller either saw a piece of coverage that named her that we haven't been able to find, or he already knew her.
Or he got the name from the parents.
True. He could have heard them talk about her or asked something or seen it in the house going through the birth certificates, right?
Because they likely looked at all of that.
Yeah. Although if that's not what you're looking for and you aren't sure how long you might have, you probably
don't know why you would just remember a name.
Right. Unless that was part of the plan.
But he could have gotten the name from John and Shelly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know you have 5 kids. What's your oldest name?
Yeah, right. Or it's somebody who knew the family.
Yeah.
And knew all the kids, knew Ruth was the oldest, the most responsible. She was the one who was feeding her siblings peanut butter and jelly sandwiches while they waited for their parents to come home that Friday. If you wanted to reach someone in that household who might act without looping in the adults, a grieving 15-year-old who desperately wanted her parents back might seem like a more useful target than, say, Gene, who's a grown man, and he's already been on the phone with police a lot.
Yeah, that's chilling. Either he knew her personally or someone, we kind of talked about if it was someone who knew them, he might know her personality, think that she might be manipulated in that way or something like that.
Absolutely. Neither option is good. When Gene tells the caller that Ruth is sleeping, the caller is annoyed, but then asks for John Markley's sister instead. And he doesn't name her. He asks for John Markley's sister.
That's odd.
Right. So it's like he specifically knew
that they were
Ruth's
staying there.
name. But that article from December 21st did name Linda and Gene.
Did they say that they were staying with the kids?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which leads me to believe that they somehow knew Ruth. Either I like the idea with going through the safe or asking the parents or knowing the family. It's just interesting that he asked for Ruth by name, which really takes out a lot of random people from the possibilities. When he asks for John Markley's sister, Gene assumes he means his wife, Linda, and tells him she's sleeping. He offers to take a message. The caller gets annoyed and hangs up.
That's really odd.
Right?
That's odd behavior.
It is.
Like, I don't know, the ransom call. That's not really how that works.
No,
Let me just find someone to talk to who's not you,
right.
but I'll call back later. It's fine.
Don't worry. Almost also kind of feels like someone's checking whether the coast is clear, like seeing who's in the house, what the situation is, if they're all staying there. The next day, the same raspy voice calls back, and this time he has a demand. He tells Jean that John and Shelly are being held and that they will be sacrificed to a cult on New Year's Eve unless he receives $10,000
Oh, sacrificed to a cult. Interesting.
in Canada, by the way.
Oh, in Canada.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then he hangs up. 1 minute later, the phone rings again, the same caller. This time, he suggests to Jean that he sells John's Corvette to raise the money to pay him.
Oh, so he would know about the Corvette because they took the tarps from there, but that's odd.
And I do think that a lot can look at a car and know what it's worth without knowing the details behind it, right? If they're really into cars or whatever.
Yeah.
But it is interesting that that's the one thing he suggested.
Yeah. Does that mean not a random person?
No. Jean tells the caller, don't worry, I have the money. I also don't have a way to sell the Corvette. Like, my name is not on the title. I can't just sell someone's car. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
But it's fine.
Yeah.
I have the money. I will get it to you. He says he'll call back with more instructions later. He hangs up. So Jean reports the calls to police immediately. Detective at the sheriff's office gave him a suction cup recording device to capture the call. And on the morning of December 31st, New Year's Eve, which is the day the caller had said John and Shelly would be sacrificed to a cult, the phone rings again, and Jean is ready this time. He's recording this call. The transcript you can read. It's hard to make out a lot of it. The transcript of it has like inaudible, because there were parts that were really hard to understand. But the voice, I guess, was pretty distinctive. And I don't think that they've ever released the actual call to the public. When he calls this time, he gives Jean an address and he tells him to drive to a Rally's restaurant by the Eastwood Mall off Ohio 422 in Warren. He says, find the payphone out front and there will be a note in the change slot. Go get it. The note will tell you what to do next.
A note in the change slot of a payphone. Sounds like a old-time movie.
Yeah, right. The detectives are obviously going. And part of the call says no police or it's off and they'll be moved tomorrow. We won't be able to help them or save them after that. Obviously, Jean isn't doing this alone. And also, I do feel a little bit like the detectives haven't fully cleared all family members, even though they mostly think foul play. There's no reason that they can find. But the ransom calls are incredibly strange and not common in most cases. And so Jean and the detective go, but they go in separate cars. And it's the detective who goes and gets the paper from the change slot and brings it to Jean. And Laura, the note. I need to tell you about the note.
Okay, what about it?
It's handwritten in block letters. It's unsigned and it is spelled according to that plain dealer article, who was able to look at it and read it, like notes that grade school kids pass across the aisle. He said it was spelled that way too.
Oh, geez.
Mm-hmm. The note says that Jean needs to go to the Kaufman's entrance next to the mall, go inside, turn left to a sweatshirt display with what it calls, and I'm quoting here, a penguin, spelled with an E on the end, bird on them. The penguin bird is Youngstown State University. It's their mascot. Everyone knows what their mascot is. He says that Jean is supposed to put the bag of money between the shirts, leave by the same door, drive around to the back JCPenney entrance, find the payphone next to the restrooms, and wait. It's a lot to follow. It's a lot of instructions.
Yeah.
If no police have been spotted after 15 minutes, a boy will bring him a note with an address where John and Shelly are being held. And it says, if anything looks wrong, go back and get package because no deal.
Penguin with an E. That's very interesting.
Yeah, it doesn't even look like the word anymore.
Yeah. And why aren't we having like proof of life before we're handing over money?
Yeah. Well, they're not handing over money, thankfully. They do almost exactly what the note says. And an undercover detective, Michael Davis, is already inside, posing as a shopper, is just walking around different sweatshirt displays. The bag that they had brought that was their ransom, they had filled with rags. No cash, but it was like a brown basic paper bag. I think because they hadn't really been able to get any proof of anything from this person. While they're inside, and while Jean is already back waiting by the JCPenney phones, a man, a woman, and a boy walk up to the sweatshirts. They look at the display. They look at the bag.
And they don't take it.
Nobody touches it. The three of them walk away. So Jean goes back in, retrieves the bag. They regroup. The detective,
They should have like stapled it closed so that they had to open it. They had to touch it.
I agree. And also, then we would have fingerprints.
Yeah.
If you didn't track them down, right?
Yes.
The detective that Jean's been working with thinks maybe the timing was off or they got spooked too early. He tells Jean to try it again, leave the bag a second time. This time, as Jean is going in to drop it again, a dispatcher radios the detective. They say that someone has called the Markley house. The raspy voice is on the line with Linda, and he is angry.
Oh, so he did spot them.
Mm-hmm. The caller demands, where is he at? Then says, I see the cops. You people are not following my directions.
Yeah, so he has been watching them the whole time.
Right. And now he gives a new location. McQuaid's Sunoco, which is a combination gas station and convenience store at Ohio 422 and North Road. It's only about half a mile west of the mall. Jean is to leave the bag in the public restroom this time. So the detective and Jean drive to the new location separately. It's snowing, making it hard for them to see what's going on, but also making it harder for whoever the raspy voiced guy is to see them. So win and lose there. The detective parks in a strip mall about 50 yards away, where he has a really good vantage viewpoint of the restroom door. Within minutes, a figure in a hooded jacket approaches and enters the restroom. When they come back out, a white car pulls around from the side of the building. The detective waits. He wants to make sure that whoever's wearing this big hoodie sweatshirt is inside the car before they move in. And sure enough, they get right in the car and detectives and police move in. And the driver of the white car is Stephen Durst of Warren, Ohio. The hooded figure who'd been in the restroom was his teenage daughter, Deanna, and she was 9 months pregnant at the time.
Oh, so his pregnant teenage daughter was the one picking up the bag?
Yeah, that he sent in to get this when he doesn't know if police are watching and going to like tackle her to the ground or something.
Yeah.
It's really lucky that they waited till she was in the car.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Durst wasn't a stranger to detectives at this point. Detective Davis, who had been inside the store watching the sweatshirt display, recognized Durst. He was the man who had walked up to the sweatshirts with the woman who might have been his daughter and the boy, who I believe was his son, but that's never been reported. It was him that looked at the bag and then walked away. He had been there the whole time, both attempts.
So he was at the mall trying to scope it out and then sent his daughter into the restroom to collect the bag so he could stay in the car.
Yeah. The Markleys were not in the car with him, and the bag of dish towels was still in the restroom can where Mason had left it. So I'm assuming that she looked in it, saw what it was, and went back to the car.
Yeah.
Detectives arrest Durst. They do arrest his daughter as well. They both have booking photos and take him in. They start trying to figure out who this guy is and what he knows. What they have is, they find out pretty quickly he had lived in the Markley home. He had been fired and evicted by John, had his last paycheck withheld, showed up in a sting operation to collect ransom money for this couple who was missing, and the call referenced their Corvette specifically. They don't feel like this is a coincidence. They don't think it's a random opportunist. The police are thinking, okay, maybe this is our guy. Maybe this is our break. So they sit him down, they start questioning him, and they give him a polygraph.
That's interesting. Did Ruth have anything to tell the police about him?
That's a good question. Nothing that I found in anything I read.
Did they feel at any point like maybe he thought this was an opportunity to try and get money off of this and he wasn't the one who took them?
They definitely considered it. They considered that is exactly
he saw
what
the news
happened.
that they disappeared and he's like, oh, well, I'm going to get my money off of this.
Yeah.
But what happened with the polygraph?
He fails multiple questions. The results indicate that he's lying when he answered 4 specific questions, or maybe some of the 4. The polygrapher wasn't entirely sure, but the results are that he showed deception. And the questions they asked, were you involved in John and Shelly Markley's disappearance in any way? Did you see John and Shelly Markley after they were reported missing? Do you know where John and Shelly are now? Did you know in advance that John and Shelly Markley would disappear?
Wow. So he's lying about not being involved and lying about not seeing them?
Potentially.
Basically?
Yeah.
Interesting.
It is. Here's where it gets complicated. Durst has an explanation, and it's almost exactly what you said. He says he belongs to a group that runs extortion schemes. Basically, he tells them there's a crew of people who exploit situations, quote, like this for money. He says his involvement was purely opportunistic. He saw a missing couple on the news. He knew them. He thought he could make a buck.
Oh, yeah, I was wondering that too. So basically he's saying, I'm not a kidnapper, just a professional extortion person.
Scumbag. Yeah, essentially that's his argument. And at first, law enforcement kind of buys it. I kind of feel like having 2 people disappear and leaving behind no trace and getting away with it, I don't think they feel like this guy could do that, if that makes sense. Like, he's not capable.
Yeah.
The sheriff at the time went on record saying, quote, there's nothing we found that would lead us to believe he has any involvement in them being missing. So in the immediate aftermath, the police really are treating Durst as an opportunist, a terrible person, but not the person responsible for whatever happened to John and Shelly.
So even with the failed polygraph and all of that, they're still treating him as an opportunist instead of having something to do with this?
Yeah, even with the failed polygraph. And we know polygraphs are complicated. They're not admissible in court for a reason. People fail them for all kinds of reasons. Stress, anxiety, the nature of the questions. So I understand why law enforcement didn't hang the entire case on that, but it is a data point, and it's a data point that says he's not being truthful about his involvement.
Okay, so they arrest him for the extortion, but not for the disappearances.
Exactly. And that is where we are going to leave part 1.
Oh, no.
And yes, we still have so much to cover. Has to be a 2-parter. When we come back, we'll go through Durst's trial and everything that comes after it. There's still so many crazy twists and turns in this story leading all the way up to 2025.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we have a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Crime Clueless. We are so grateful that you tuned in. If you want to read or look through the resources or read our blog post on this case, you can find that on our website, crimeclueless.com, and we'll link to it in the show notes. If you listened to this episode and you know something, even if you think it's small, even if you are not sure it matters, the Trumbull County Sheriff's Office begs you to please call. They have a tip line at 330-675-2574. You can also reach Detective Rick Tackett directly, and we will put all of those numbers and information in the show notes. If you don't want to call law enforcement, you can message the family's Facebook page. It's called Missing Persons, John and Shelly Markley. They're still there. They still check on it. They haven't given up. If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd be grateful if you would take a moment to rate or review or share our podcast. Your support helps more than you know, and we're grateful for every single one. You can find Crime Clueless anywhere you listen to podcasts. And as always, remember, refuse to be clueless, careless, or caught off guard.
Not today, murders.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Your team just added its 67th AI tool and also your 67th security blind spot. The good news? The Vanta agent works like a GRC engineer in the background, finding every app your team uses, scoring the risk, and drafting fixes for you. Vanta is the platform used by over 16,000 fast-moving companies like Ramp, Cursor, and Harvey, who are shaping the future with AI and staying ahead of AI risk. Get started at Vanta.com.